Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. So, if there's one thing that I'd love to be able to leave our quality time with this afternoon, it's one thing. We're going to explore, is there a way we could turn down the music just a little bit? Thank you so much. Explore what it means to examine the distance between the head, the heart, and home. And I recognize that that's a little bit different than the intro. And don't worry, we're going to get to the market at Macy's. I promise you. Don't worry, we'll not disappoint. But if we agree that, there's a importance to the heart and what it means to the customer journey, that it almost triggers thoughts of relationships, right? How do we form relationships with each other, with products, with brands, with experiences? How do we create those moments that matter and allow brands to get from familiar to becoming favorite? Does that make sense to everyone? Awesome. So before going too far down the emotional part of the customer journey, we'll start off with the head, right? And so when we think of the head in business, most businesses start off with a solid strategy, right? And that strategy is sort of anchored by a marketing plan, a financial plan, there's a plan for the plan, right? And if you're a retailer or if you're an entrepreneur or an artisan, you probably have a product plan or an assortment plan, right? But how often is it that those components of our business are in conflict with each other, or that they're competing priorities within those different segments of our thought process? So just imagine this narrative for a moment, where we look at our marketing and we expect that they are finding new customers for us. We expect that they are retaining the existing customers, and we expect that they're hugging everyone so tightly that they never disappear, right? And finance is looking at marketing and saying, yes, we're behind you, but don't spend any money. Or spend as little money as possible, right? And everyone's looking at the sales team or the buying team or the core of the business to deliver the results that are going to provide the money for all of this magic to happen, right? And so if we can imagine how squishy that narrative is, just think through the impact to the customer, right? If we internally are struggling to sort of outline things where there's a smooth sort of narrative and conversation, then what does that customer journey look like, or what's the impact to the product or the customers that we serve? Make sense? Okay, so let's move on to the heart for a moment. Sticking with relationships, I'm going to ask everyone a personal question. How many of us believe that trust is core to any relationship? Just show of hands. Okay, for those of you that did not raise your hands, no judgment, safe place, that's okay. But just taking it a step further, how many of us believe that trust is earned, right? And that you sort of start low on the scale and there's a thermometer, you have like a belly barometer, and it's like, you know what, whether it's a person, an individual, an experience, a brand, you sort of have to like earn your way into building trust. Show of hands, is that most people? Again. Now, I'm curious, how many people believe that trust is sort of like given up front and you sort of like adjust based on experiences or expectations? That's okay too. You raise your hand twice, that's okay. And how many of us believe that it depends? You know what, there's a different answer for different brands, different scenarios, that's okay as well. And just even in this sample size of this room, what we can take away from this is that from a customer perspective, there's a one-to-one relationship, right? In how we build trust and how we form relationships. And so there's no right or wrong answer, right? And if we were to sort of port this little sample size experiment over to the customer journey or the shopping experience, we can imagine that there's a pretty high hurdle to go from familiar to favorite, right? And so bringing it full circle, that's where the market comes in. We're a platform that allows brands to tell their full story to customers so that you can build those relationships, right? You can build that relationship, you can tell your full story, you can stand out and sort of cut through the noise. So jumping back to the head for a moment and how we landed at this market concept, I want to throw a few stats out there just to take in. We know that in the last couple of years that the pop-up industry has grown to $50 billion. That is pretty sizable, pretty compelling, right? So we know that there's financial opportunity. We know that if we look at digital brands like Shopify, there's about 400,000 individual sellers on Shopify alone. Etsy has 1 million active sellers, right? Notice I have not mentioned eBay, I have not mentioned Amazon. So you start throwing those big players in there, just think of how large this segment is. Now, here's the kicker. 90% of retail still happens in the physical space. I'm going to say that again. 90% of retail still happens in the physical space. So as impressive as those numbers were that I may have just shared, that is only 10% of what's happening out there. So just think through the opportunity for a moment. If you're Macy's and you're sort of like an entrepreneur, like I am, and you're sort of building a new concept, what is the complementing opportunity for the 10% look like in the physical space? And the proof of this is some of what we're seeing out there in the news. Anyone familiar with the brand Casper or Warby Parker glasses, right? They're all trying to figure out how to do physical retail, right? And we are, I'm not going to say beating them to the punch. It's not about competition necessarily, but I will say that there is a clear-cut opportunity for brands, whether they are small or large, to sort of come into a trusted powerhouse like a Macy's and bring their story to life in a place where 1 out of 2 Americans are shopping at least once a year. So I'm going to throw a few challenges out there that might sound familiar, whether you are a corporate executive or if you are an entrepreneur and you're sort of building things in your living room, that's okay. 66% of small businesses are trying to find new customers, 2/3. That is pretty significant, right? How do we grow our businesses if we don't have customers? That is core. Approaching the halfway mark, trying to develop that customer experience, right? It sort of goes back to what I said before, right? It's building and developing the relationships that matter, creating moments in the customer's mind that they can take with them, and whether they decide to act on your product right there on the spot or act on your product later on down the line, you want to become something that they can trust, right? There's a reason why any of us can walk into a major mall and find a select number of brands. And very rarely do we question the sales associate that's selling us that product or that service, like, is this Ralph Lauren polo made well, right? It just doesn't happen because the relationship has been formed. If we were to go upstairs and buy Starbucks coffee, you're not going to ask the barista if that coffee was, if it's of quality, if this is good coffee, because you know already, you formed that relationship. And so, again, what does that opportunity look like for us and everyone in this room, or even just brands that are sort of early on their growth curve, right? How do we get them to become more familiar? Is this making sense to everyone? And so I believe that every great organization or team starts with a why. Not a what, not a how. The what we do and the how we do it, that is rarely unique. It might be a little different, but it's rarely unique. Why we do things, I believe, is what sets us apart. Why we get up in the morning, why we show up for ourselves and for our teams and for our customers, that's where the difference is. And so we believe that all brands, whether they're small or large, that they deserve the opportunity to showcase what makes them special. I'll say it again. We believe that all brands, whether they're small or large, should have the opportunity to showcase what makes them special. And so that's why we developed the market. And if it makes sense to anyone in this room, we'd love to chat. We'd love to chat more. And in this marketplace that we've developed, we've pulled together products and services and experiences. And so the intention is that if every brand has something about them that makes them special or a unique story to them, then there's got to be a way to showcase that in a way that sticks out, right? And if it's only product on shelves or a product that's hanging, then it's not necessarily doing the job. How are you going to cut through the noise that is sort of surrounding you? Macy's has thousands of brands inside of its four walls. And so there's got to be something that pushes the experience over the edge. So I'm going to share a few quick stories with you of experiences that we've had in the market to date. So hopefully the lights are showing it well, but we've had Ferrari in the market. And so we do have Ferrari watches in our store, and a watch in itself is not all too special. But what we want the customer to do is to connect with the brand. And so we put a Ferrari simulator in the store. And so we want you to truly experience the brand. We want you to drive it. We want you to know what it feels like to slam on the brakes. We want you to know what it feels like to turn the corner, so that whether you decide to buy that watch or not, you are more familiar with the brand of Ferrari, and you are leaving with something that is a special moment, right? And if you decide to purchase it, again, as a gift, at least it has a story attached to it. And if it doesn't, that's okay as well. I'll share another with you. Bose. They had a product that they were looking to sell online, and for whatever reason, the product wasn't moving as fast as they would have wanted to, and they are sleep pods, right? And we're all familiar with e-commerce experience, and it has all of the rational benefits of a product, it has some inspirational benefits of a product, but truly, if you want to know what it's like to experience what it is to sleep with like sleep buds in your ear, then you got to go to sleep, right? And not that we're inviting customers to come into our store to sleep, that's not what we were doing here, but truly, we created an opportunity where Bose and their ambassadors created sleep pods, and in a matter of 2 or 3 minutes, they can really get a good sense of what it might be to fall asleep with sleep pods in their ear. Additionally, we partnered with Ticketmaster, and again, not all brands are with us to sell product. It's the combination of product, services, and experiences. And so Ticketmaster in Atlanta, before the Super Bowl this year, put what I'm going to call a digital experience where interested fans and customers could do their favorite touchdown dance on the Atlanta Falcons, or at least a digital representation of the Atlanta Falcons end zone. And that dance would be recorded and then sent back to them at the end. And so it was a really compelling experience. But just think through, the next time that customer is interested in going to a concert or a special event, who are they going to think of? And just highlighting one of our most exciting partnerships to date, Facebook. So I know we started this conversation talking about relationships and building moments that matter. Who better to partner with than Facebook, the largest social media platform in the world? We're all familiar with 6 degrees of separation. Imagine that in the Facebook ecosystem, that they actually did an experiment and did some science around this a couple of years ago. There's 3.5 degrees of separation on Facebook. They've literally taken the amount of separation that exists in the world and cut it in half. And so when we think through how to help brands go from familiar to favorite, again, it becomes almost like a no-brainer. So I'm going to share a quick video just to highlight more of what the experience looked like inside Macy's.
So we are setting up the market in Macy's on Herald Square. It opens very, very soon, so that's all happening behind us.
So the company is called Bespoke Post. Each month we create a box of awesome, and it's a curated gift set across a variety of categories.
Well, we're a Charleston Gourmet Burger Company, and this started in our
It looks like we're having
backyard.
some technical difficulties. We're going to move on from that. So quick snapshot, NASCAR slide of some of the brands that we had inside, and again, apologies for the video. But what you can see here is that our intentions are not just to go after the big brands, but also emerging brands, digital brands, brands that you might see in your Instagram feed, brands that you may have seen in your Facebook feed. And across 9 cities between November and January of 2019, we were able to bring about 100 brands to life. Right? And imagine that these brands that people are seeing in their feeds, or all of us are seeing in our feeds, we may have never touched them before. Right? We scroll past them, but we can't understand the texture, or for some of the products that actually were food, we've never tasted them before, or for things that had a scent, we've never smelled them before. And so those are really the values coming to life when you bring a Facebook into the market. So we're going to give this a try one more time. We actually have a video of our CEO, Jeff Gannett, interviewing one of the brands.
So I'm next up with Bryan and Brad Manning, who are the founders of Two Blind Brothers. So Bryan, I want to hear about this brand.
Yeah, so my brother and I have a rare retinal eye disease called Stargardt's. And what that does is it kills the cells in the center of your vision, causing a little bit of legal blindness over the years. Well, about 3 years ago, we were actually in a Bloomingdale's and we went shopping. And after about 30 minutes,
I'm going to apologize again. It seems that we're still having some AV issues here. Pausing on the Facebook conversation for a moment, I wanted to take a few minutes before we close out to highlight some more special moments and experiences that sort of signal our ability to bring smaller and medium-sized businesses to life and to really create special moments for the communities that we serve. So for Heritage Brand Show, the three brothers that you see here in this picture, they participated in a few markets this year, and they have a really interesting story. Like most teenagers and young boys, they're all about video games and their toys, and of course they go to their parents and they say, can we have more allowance so that we can buy more toys and games? And their mother and father said to them, no, no surprise, right? But she said something that really created this business. She said, you can either go out and get a job or you can start your own business. And so the three brothers chose to start their own business. And they developed a candle business, and literally each of the brothers has a job. One of them comes up with a strategy, another one comes up with the scents, and the other one is, the youngest, is responsible for putting the wicks inside the candles. And we've hosted them not only in the market, but they've also been a part of the workshop at Macy's, and we're super proud to have them. They are really a compelling story, and if you can, I would encourage you to check them out. Abaya Addict. Hopefully the pictures are showing up well here, but what you can see here is abayas, of course, hijabs, and what this represents to us is the opportunity to connect and to serve communities that may not get the same attention that the mainstream community gets in our store, right? And I will tell you that in a matter of 2 hours during this event, I can't tell you how much they generated, but if I was to share the number with you, it would be quite exciting. Just the traffic, the excitement, and of course, like, it's great to have the revenue, but the greater opportunity is to really connect with customers. And you know what's funny, this week before flying down here, I was speaking with someone on my team who was talking to the owner, who was of course excited to come back to the market. And the owner shared a story that one of the customers had shared with her, which is that there was a customer in the store with her young daughter, and she looked up and she saw someone that looked just like her on the sign. And the daughter was so ecstatic just to see someone, because it's not common to see women with hijabs, whether it's in marketing or in visual or just the product in a Macy's. And so we can probably quickly identify, especially this audience in this room, how proud might that moment have been for the mother and the daughter, right? And so that becomes some of the intangibles that we're able to unlock in the market, just again, connecting with customers, building those moments, building those relationships that matter. Does that make sense, everyone? And then in closing, Novi High School. When I was in high school, we had workshop class. Apparently today, when you're in high school, you can have your product at the Macy's. So this high school outside of Detroit, Michigan, they worked with our store leadership team on their marketing, their pricing, and they literally developed 2 brands from the ground up. Mismatched Socks and the brand Quest that you see on the right. And a proceed of the sales, the class and the school committed to giving back a portion of the proceeds to their local community. And I can't tell you how much press, how much sales, the entire community showed up in support of this high school and what they had done. And we're so proud to have had them in the market and so proud to have supported this moment. Even up to our CEO, Jeff Gannett, he actually purchased the first pair of socks from them in support. So we're gonna close here and open it up for questions. Fire away. Oh.
Hi, can you share more information about the workshop that's on the flyers?
I I will answer you broadly. The workshop does not report into my business unit, but I would encourage you to go to Macys.com, and you should be able to search the workshop, or even if you Google the workshop at Macys.com, it's an educational business. It's meant to inform entrepreneurs or business owners on the different points of business. So marketing, finances, e-commerce to an extent, operations, all the different considerations that sort of go into propping up a business. More of the head. Thank you for reminding me. So Radina just reminded me that the winner of this year's workshop competition actually got space in the market. So we are partners in crime, we are allies. It's an excellent opportunity. If you have a moment, I would encourage you to look it up.
Thank you. Hello, Detroit. Nobody. I'm Jishawn Williams from Spin Management Solutions. I got a question for you. You mentioned the word entrepreneur earlier,
Yeah,
which I think is pretty cool.
thank you.
As an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
working with entrepreneurs, what do you see as one of the biggest opportunities for entrepreneurs?
What do we see as one of the biggest opportunities? I'm going to give you an answer that might have you leave with more questions. Not intentionally, but I would say that as an entrepreneur, my experience at Macy's, which is a very large engine and very process driven, that even this business or how we do business to an extent is disruptive. And so just being unafraid to challenge what is, or questioning everything and keeping that beginner's mindset about things, I would say that that's the most valuable opportunity. Even in this experience where we are creating this platform to tell the story of brands, how we do that for each individual brand is different, right? And I would never propose that we be the oracle and sort of be prescriptive in how we give that direction to brands. We want to absolutely support it, which requires that the entrepreneur that's on the other side of the phone or the email is equally, if not more, free thinking in their approach to retail, right? So we all know our story. That part comes easy. We wake up with it, we go to sleep with it. But how we actually articulate it and how we might design it to come to life in a market is really where the trick comes in.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Melinda Williams. I'm an actress and an entrepreneur and one of the founders of thisisleaving.com. So the question I have for you is really, it's twofold. So how does a company partner with Macy's to enter one of the programs, either the workshop or the marketplace? And what determines which markets that company has the shop in?
Okay. That's probably the easiest question I get while I'm up here. Thank you for that. The market model is, I'm going to call it very democratic. It works almost like an Airbnb or an Uber in that you go online and you say, I want to be in this market, or I want to be in these select markets, and this is the time that you'd like to be in them, and we connect from there. So you raise your hand and say that you're ready, and then we talk and we figure out, well, we're going to learn more about your story. You're going to share more about yourself and what you're looking to accomplish, and then we're going to take it from there. The workshop is application-based, and so Radina, correct me if I'm wrong, they typically get thousands and thousands of applicants per year. And again, the intention is to educate and to inform and sort of teach entrepreneurs how to be better at doing business in a big retail experience. The market is a marketplace, so in absence of a digital marketplace, Etsy, Amazon, eBay, physical marketplace inside of Macy's.
Hi, I'm just going to give a quick synopsis on the workshop at Macy's. Okay. I am Tamara. I do the marketing for the workshop at Macy's, so we've had a second question. I just want to make sure that no one leaves not understanding. We had a seminar last night. Sharika Smallwood presented. And the workshop at Macy's is a 4.5-day program where we invite entrepreneurs to come to New York. And as Tamara stated, we teach them the basics, how to pretty much take your business to the next level if that's where you're ready to go. Your business needs to be operating for 2 years or more, and you need to be a woman or a minority business owner. Also, now we've opened it up to
veterans.
veterans and LGBTQs. The exciting thing is, it's Macy's signature event. We're going on our 10th year, so we're going to have a really great campaign. The applications open October 6th, and we'll start to see branding for it somewhere around maybe July or August. But if you go to the website now, you'll get the basics. You'll also get testimonials of our past participants. So that's why we lay these out. I hope that I answered the pretty much basic questions, but after we finish, we'll be in the back and we can give you more detailed if that's what you need.
Thank you for that.
Hi, Thamar. Thank
Hi.
you for this information.
Of course.
Walking through the stores at Herald Square in New York, not only working for Macy's, but looking at it from a customer's lens, I noticed children's books. I noticed Evelyn Lozato's earrings there. I've just noted hair curling irons. So it looks like there is no end to what can be placed in the market. It's not clothing. It doesn't look like it's toys only. Can you speak about what products do we allow inside the market?
Absolutely. So, again, it's products and it's services and it's brand experiences. So going back to connecting the head to the heart and allowing the customer to develop a strong relationship so that it goes home with them. That means that we've got to open up the conversation to be inclusive. So I would stop short of saying anything and everything. When it comes to product, we are challenging the boundaries of how they should be coming to life in a Macy's and what categories can come into life in a Macy's. When it comes to service, to your point, we've literally had eyebrow threading, we've had skin care, we've had some hair care in the space. When it comes to brand experiences, we've literally partnered with Universal Studios, Ticketmaster, and so if there's a brand, and we imagine that every brand has a story to it and an ID and a character to it, then there's perhaps a way to bring it to life in the physical. And so there are very few categories of business that we would not touch. The exceptions would be anything that is in a direct conflict to a Macy's. So we do have some specific business categories that exist in the Macy's that we wouldn't be able to duplicate. So for example, we have Starbucks in Macy's. We can actually sell coffee, but we can't actually brew coffee in the market. Thank you for that.
Hey, Tamar.
Hi.
What are your policies or rules of engagement for business owners that have products outside the continent that is making waves? We have a grooming products in Africa, it's like everywhere, maybe 25 countries, but we don't have any presence here in the States, so we kind of wanted to, understand how that works, kind of the rules and policies.
Thank you for your question. So, as long as you have a domestic bank account and you have a domestic address where you can ship the product back when you're done, then we can do business. Does that get you what you need? I'm sorry.
So you mean like domestic in the States here?
Yes, so as long as you have a US bank account and an address in the US where we can ship the product back when we're at the end of our term, then we're in the clear.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I stepped in late, but quick question for you. What do you guys rake in as far as the business model? I saw online, so Amazon rakes 33%. I don't know if you mentioned that. If a business is set up at your location doing retail, what are you guys taking off the top?
Oh, that is an
That's
excellent...
the first question. The second question is, we say things that go in your body or on your body, there's certain certifications we want, especially if it's coming overseas. How do you guys look at that if I bring to a retail location this greatest lotion and potion that'll help you lose weight?
Thank you for your questions. So I'd be remiss if I did not mention this, that in our why, we are so strong in our belief that 100% of any sales that are generated go back to the brand. We don't keep any of it. So the cost comes in, or the expense is in a one-time fee that our business partners pay for entry and pay for the service. After that, anything that's generated goes back to you, and you, and you, and you, and you. As it relates to your second question, hopefully I heard it right, I'm being a good student here. You're asking how do we validate that the product that's coming into our market is going to say in line with Macy's branding, ID. It's not harming anyone, correct? So there, not to get into too much of the details, but there is a bit of a back and forth again when I suggested earlier that we look to learn more about the brands that are coming in. That's going to trigger some conversations, and some of them are going to be legal. And we're going to make sure that you, our brand partner, have the green light to participate in a Macy's, not only with the product that you're selling, but actually the composition of the product. And I would say that there's probably higher sensitivity to certain categories of business. So things like supplements, we haven't touched on too much. I know that you may have seen on the Facebook board that we had flat tummy tea, and that's probably like the extent of it. But anything that is like the potion, as you just mentioned, we'd probably stay away from. Yep. Was there
Hi.
Long time to talk to.
Right. How many people typically apply to the market?
So
Or businesses?
I wouldn't be able to tell you that. I will tell you that in the last, we opened in February of 2018. From February 2018 to date, we are approaching 400 participants. I'll share with you that the number of applicants, you'd have to add a couple zeros. Is that? All right, well, thanks everyone. Appreciate you having me.